Welcome to Career Pro Tips by Life in the Green Room. Life in the Green Room is all about helping busy professionals who want more from their career. We provide action-oriented, tool-based plans and programs to help you take action and start driving your career where you want to go. Career Pro Tips is a weekly video series where we dive into one specific topic or question and give you strategies, tactics, and tips that you can apply right away if that's a topic that's really relevant to you. My name is Heather Green McGlynn, and I'm the Vice President of Marketing at a Fortune 500 company. I have used these tips and strategies, and I have seen my peers, my colleagues, and my team use them. I know that they will help you start taking ownership of your career. Welcome to episode number 36 of Career Pro Tips. And this week we are talking all about change. Change is absolutely constant at work. I mean, in any part of your life, but especially at work. And sometimes it feels overwhelming and draining, and you just want a little bit of stability in your life. And I thought it would be worth kind of diving in some ways to think about change and ways you can embrace it, because it is absolutely inevitable anywhere. And to be honest, if you're in a place, in a job that hasn't had any change in a long time, I frankly would be a little bit suspicious. Are you guys in a rut? Are you missing out on trends? Are you not improving? Like, what is going on that you haven't seen any change? But I think most of you can relate to constant change, maybe almost on the side of too much. So I want to talk a little bit about ways that you can embrace, think about, be ready to tackle the change that's almost inevitable and constant in the work life. So, one of the things before I dive into the tips is to think about your role as a change agent. I mean, as a leader, you should be thinking about where you can make changes for your team, for your career, for your department, for your company. It's really one of the ways where you're going to be driving value and making improvements. So if you're in that position, I want you to think about what needs changed, what can I change, and how do I make sure I'm changing the right things. There are things that have made you, the department, the team successful. And so how do you find that balance of what is core, what's been the reasons driving success versus over here, what can be changed and what should be changed? That is an art to find that. So I really would ask you to think about that. If you are the one developing what change needs to be done, is kind of finding that balance of the things that have made you successful versus what needs to be changed. So you're driving the right things. I really hate the expression throwing the baby out with the bathwater. It does seem to fit here though, because you do want to keep the core things that have been driving the vision and the mission and the success of the team. So if you're on the other side where you feel like you're just getting run over by change in a nonstop manner, I have 5 tips for you to think about. The first one is to expect change. I know that seems really obvious, but sometimes it's just a mindset thing where you just, every time the change comes up, you're like, oh my gosh, it was working. I had it figured out. Now you're changing it again. I think if you go back to what we talked about in episode number 33 about thinking patterns, say, no, change is good for me. I'm learning, I'm developing. It's going to bring us to a better place. Expect the change and accept it. So I think that tip and that mental switch can really help you. You don't want to be seen as a resistor, because that is not a great spot to be in when you're like, well, why would we ever change? It's been working. Doesn't mean it couldn't be better. So expect the change and accept it. That is my first tip. My second tip is maybe think about where you want to see change. If you know that your boss is looking for areas to change, or that change is happening anyway, maybe you see an area that's ripe for improvement. What a great way to raise your hand and say, look, this process over here isn't working, or this vendor is not the ideal one, or this could be a better way to get more efficiencies, more revenue, more hits, more whatever you're going after, and suggest it. That's a great way to be a change agent, or a great way to show your leadership skills, and a great way to have some of the change be change that you choose. Change is going to happen anyway. We talked about being inevitable. You may as well drive some of it yourself. So that's my second tip. My third tip is to ask questions. So change is being thrust upon you sometimes. Be sure that you're asking smart questions about what's the goal, why is the change happening, and do it in a non-threatening way. You can do this without being aggressive or pessimistic or trying to derail the project. But the reason to ask questions is to understand at a deeper level, what is the driver? What is your boss trying to accomplish? Or what is the company trying to accomplish? And the more clarity that you can get around that, the more you can make sure that the change is going to get you in that direction. If you understand what they're really going after, you could say, look, I understand the direction and maybe we should pivot the change to look like this to get the business value that you're going after. So it can really be beneficial for you and the team to ask questions in a probing manner that's not aggressive or threatening and shows that you're a team player and you are here for the change. The fourth tip I have for you is to offer to lead part of the change. So tip number 2 was to think about an area and suggest it for improvement. This one is to say, somebody's coming up and saying this change is happening. Say, look, can I help? Can I lead? Can I be part of the evaluation team, part of the implementation team? That's a great way to improve your skills. Make sure you're staying on point with all the trends happening in the space and to really show yourself to the company as somebody who can embrace change and be a leader. So I really recommend this as a great way to say, not only am I going to accept this change, I'm going to be part of the leadership team that implements it. A great way to really participate in change. And the fifth thing, we already went over 4. The fifth thing is to just not get too comfortable. I know that you want to have routine in your life, and I get it. I talk all about routines and how they help you and how they're the key to your success. And it's a balance. You want that routine, but you always want to be striving to get better and to get to that next level. And so not getting too comfortable is a great way for you to say, okay, if I've had, a quarter or 6 months and everything's going really smoothly, I should start looking around and figure out how can we make some incremental improvements. Try to avoid things like, hey, this is the way we've always done it. Being a change agent is going to be a great way for you to improve your career skills, drive yourself to the next level, and drive the company to the next level. So I would recommend, when you think about change, to really expect it and embrace it. You're trying to own your career. To own your career, you absolutely are going to make changes, whether that's in your role, in your job, in your company, all of it. So the more you get comfortable with it, the better off you're going to be as you take ownership of your career. I would love to hear from you. How have you embraced change in your job and your career? And what has led you to success with dealing with constant change? Leave me a note here. Until next week, here's to owning your career journey.